In a crazy moment in court, Diddy's defense attorney Brian Steele would ask his former assistant Mia why she kept wishing him a happy birthday after he allegedly SA'd her on his 40th birthday. There's a video clip circulating from his 44th birthday where she's wishing him a happy birthday, and this is what they played today in court.
Puff Daddy, the living legend himself, you have not only revolutionized the game, but the entire world. I'm so blessed to call you my friend. Thank you for truly being one of the biggest inspirations in my life. To another 44 years of brilliance, let's fuck shit up. I love you. Happy birthday.
I'm Amanda from The Point of No Return. We're covering day 14. Let's get right into it. We know that victim number 4 is going by the pseudonym Mia because her real identity is being protected. She didn't want to use her real identity in court. One of the main things that they used during her cross-examination was text messages. So they said that Brian Steele had her on the stand reading about 50 pages or more of text message exchanges between her and P. Diddy during their time of knowing each other. So she was let go from Revolt in March of 2017. But the interesting thing is there are text message threads that read from her and Diddy all the way from 2018 up until 2020. So one of the ones that she read out loud in court today that was pretty interesting was from Christmas 2018. And it reads this: Merry Christmas, I love you so, so much. That was a message from Mia to Diddy. She also made note that she felt like she wanted to reach out to him because this was right after Kim Porter's funeral. Brian Steele also asked Mia about another message that was sent in 2019. And this is what the message said. It said, I screamed for you and you came to rescue me. Mia said that she was still psychologically enthralled with P. Diddy and that at the time he was her tormentor and protector. Who was she talking about at the time when she said that she woke up from a nightmare? She actually said she woke up from a nightmare thinking about R. Kelly. This to me was very ironic because we know that R. Kelly has also been charged with sex trafficking and racketeering, also in court in New York. In 2020, she also texted him again, and in another message she says, my heart is broken about Dre, I love you. I'm assuming that this is a message about Andre Harrell, who we know started Uptown Records and worked with Diddy for a very long time. So there's a lot of different messages where she's reaching out to him about different things, and the defense is pointing out, you said that this man SA'd you and that he assaulted you for many, many years, abused you. However, you're reaching out and you're showing love over the years, even after you no longer worked for him. They also said that he was pretty argumentative and pretty combative during his cross-examination of her today. Brian Steele would also ask Mia on the stand, did you ever tell Cassie, who you deemed a best friend or a sister, that the man that she was in love with allegedly SA'd you? She said, not in the way I could have. He also asked her, why didn't you tell her? So she said, I was not allowed to tell Cassie the truth about anything, including his whereabouts or his actions. So she didn't feel comfortable. She said that she was afraid. She was afraid that if she said anything, that Cassie would be taken away from her. They were really good sisters. Another thing to note was she said he's stolen Cassie's phone many times. He's put tracking devices even on her car. He also had access to both of their phones, and she noted that he's stolen both of their phones many times going through their phones. So she didn't feel like she could possibly ever tell Cassie what happened. There was also talks of a settlement today. So there was a settlement. We already kind of discussed it before, but here's a refresher. So Brian Steele brings up the settlement again between Mia and P. Diddy at the end of her tenure at Revolt/Bad Boy. She then corrected him and said that they weren't in a court case or they weren't fighting in court, but it was just mediation. So we know that after last week, Mia got $400,000 from this settlement and that she split it with her lawyers, with them getting about $200,000 and she got $200,000. However, it did come out today that the original settlement was for $10 million. That is what she was asking for, and she ended up only getting $400,000. Mia also testified that at the time of her settlement, she didn't know that she could include SA into her negotiations, so she didn't. She said that she wasn't advised well by her counsel. So Brian still asked her, why didn't you include that? Like, we haven't heard anything about that. It also came out in court today that she never said anything at the first conversations with the prosecution in 2024 about the SA allegations either. So we all know that in November of 2023, Cassie originally filed her lawsuit against Diddy, which got settled out of court literally the next day. Mia said that even after this, she still did not tell Cassie that she was SA'd allegedly by Diddy. Here's a quote. She said, "Just because you find out something doesn't mean you immediately snap out of it. I wanted to die with this." She began talking with prosecutors at the beginning of 2024. However, it wasn't until July of 2024 that she finally disclosed that she had been allegedly SA'd by Diddy. When she disclosed this information, it was upon her getting counsel, and her attorney's name is Sean Crawley. The interesting thing about Sean Crawley is Sean Crawley helped somebody else get a very large settlement in a defamation suit just last year. Sean Crawley helped E. Jane Carroll win an $83 million defamation lawsuit against Donald Trump. So they're implicating now that she is trying to potentially extort Diddy. So they asked her, was she a part of the Me Too money grab? Here was another quote. Brian Steele also said this to me, and he said, "You are aware of the Me Too movement. No outcry of you. Why?" She replied to him. He said he was going to tell Cassie what happened. I internalized a lot of blame, a lot of shame. Then he asked her, who threatened to tell Ms. Ventura about Mr. Combs supposedly sexually assaulting you? She said, Puff. She also went on to say that she felt like she was brainwashed by Diddy and that they were really high highs and really low lows. She also said, I was punished whenever Puff was violent, making me believe I had done something wrong. He was praised by the public. Brian Steele straight up asked me, do you plan on suing Mr. Combs for compensation? She said no. So just as a refresher, some of the things that she's accused him of are groping, SAing, and forcing her to perform oral on him. One of the prosecutors also asked her when they redirected, they said, what did Diddy do when you didn't meet the expectation that he thought at work? She said, I would be screamed at, humiliated, made fun of, and my job would be threatened. She also confirmed that she made a scrapbook for Diddy's birthday. So here's another interesting quote. The prosecution said, why did you try to keep the person who abused you happy? She responded and said, because when he was happy, I was safe. They ended off the day with a hotel staff from the Beverly Hills Hotel named Sylvia Oken. She was the director of sales and marketing. She would tell us that during this time, Diddy also had several reservations at the Beverly Hills Hotel and that he would use aliases, as we know, like Frank Black. But today we heard a new one, Philip Pines. So Philip Pines is also a former worker or employee that worked for Diddy from 2019 to 2021. The interesting thing is this worker has a lawsuit out on Diddy as we currently speak. He's saying in his lawsuit that he was instructed to do the following at Diddy's, either in his bedroom or hotel rooms. He was instructed to get illegal drugs, alcohol, baby oil towels, red lights, and other items for parties known as Wild King Nights, aka freak-offs. Then the lawsuit also says that he would be expected to call, that he would be expected to be on call for Wild King Nights, as if he's a doctor or something. Then it says these would last for days. As an example, he would have to clean up the hotel rooms. He would have to leave the hotel cleaning crew a very large tip to avoid any house cleaning, reporting, or anything that will be later billed. The other interesting thing was, at one point in time, in May 2015, this was on his account, it said that he was charged $500 for oil damage. There was another bill for $300 for cleaning the drapes and a fee that went out for him because Diddy wanted them to pick up 5 candles. As for tomorrow, we have a few more witnesses set to come, and there's a lot to unpack here. So what did y'all think about day 14 of the Diddy trial? Sean P. Diddy Combs paid a security guard $100,000 in March of 2016 to bury the tape of him beating Cassie at the Intercontinental LA. I'm Amanda Washington from the Point of No Return True Crime Podcast. We're covering the Diddy trial, day 15. Today on the stand is Eddie Garcia, a former security worker at the Intercontinental LA in 2016 when the incident went down with Diddy and Cassie. Security worker Eddie Garcia will also testify that Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Karam, would also call the Intercontinental for the security tape. However, he would tell her she needed a subpoena. She would then show up to the Intercontinental again in person and try to see the tape to see what kind of damage they were dealing with, is what he said, and they still would tell her that she needed a subpoena. At the time, he did describe, however, to Christina that the footage was bad. After Christina called multiple times to no avail, Diddy then called. Diddy said this according to Eddie. He nervously called him and said he had a little too much to drink. He also told him, I knew how things were with women and that one thing leads to another. Then somehow Diddy was able to call his personal cell phone. And when Diddy called his personal cell phone, Eddie testified that he said this. He stated that I sounded like a good guy and that I sounded like I wanted to help him and that something like this could ruin him. He repeated that I sounded like a good guy and I could help. So again, Eddie then repeated he couldn't help him. However, after talking to his boss told him, go ahead and call Diddy back. We can offer him $50,000 for the footage. He said when he spoke to Diddy, Diddy responded and said, quote, Eddie, my angel, I knew you could help. I knew you could do it. The other crazy thing is, in Christina Karam's phone, Eddie's name was saved as Eddie, my angel. Eddie also testified that at this time, Diddy was looking really excited. He was happy. And then his boss uploaded the video to a thumb drive to give to Eddie to then give over to Diddy. He assured Diddy that this was the only copy of the video. Eddie did express to Diddy that he was mildly nervous because he said, what if Cassie files a police report in the near future? Diddy reassured him by saying, you don't have to worry about that. He then called a woman that Eddie believed to be Cassie and said this, let him know you want the video to go away too. That is what he said to the person that was on the phone. Cassie then told Eddie Garcia that she had a movie coming out and that she didn't need this to come out. Eddie also testified that he signed a non-disclosure agreement as well as a declaration stating that this was the only copy of the video that existed. Garcia also testified that per the NDA, if he breached the contract, there was a $1 million penalty. After the NDA was signed, Eddie would then testify that Diddy brought a money counter in a brown paper bag that contained $100,000. After he ran the money through the money counter, he then told Eddie, don't make any large purchases with this money. Eddie testified that he gave $50,000 of it to his supervisor, $20,000 to another coworker that was involved, and then $30,000 he kept for himself to buy a used car. It's also important to note that Israel Flores, the officer who reported to the incident when it first happened, was not involved in this incident with the money. Garcia testified that after this happened, Diddy also contacted him to see if anybody was snooping around or inquiring about the video, and he responded no. Another interesting tidbit, court started out on 1,000 today, might I add. If you're unaware by now, a lot of people have figured out who victim number 4 is, who is going by the pseudonym Mia. So somebody in the court's public square actually shouted out Mia's real name this morning. Someone also began heckling Sean Combs, and this is what they said. Diddy, these motherfuckers laughing at you. They also added that the woman, it seemed to be there in support of Diddy. She felt that people were unfairly mocking him and she wanted to make her voice heard. She also was led out by the court marshals and they took her outside. It's unclear if they were able to officially calm her down or she got kicked out. The jurors did not see this exchange happen. So she also said, I'm tired of seeing everyone treating Diddy the way that they are. I said my piece. And that was her quote. The last person on the stand today was Derek Ferguson. Derek Ferguson was a money man for Diddy. He was actually the chief financial officer for Bad Boy for quite some time, from the late 90s all the way up until 2012. And he also dealt with some of Diddy's personal finances all the way up until 2017. So some of his responsibilities included the following: settling budgets, accounting, record keeping, also joint ventures like strategic partnerships, and then also Diddy's personal finances. The jury was able to see bank statements from Diddy's accounts from 2011, also from 2012. In December 2011, they saw a bank statement from P. Diddy, and it was from his home account in Alpine, New Jersey. On December 14, 2011, records show that there was $20,000 transferred to Diddy's girlfriend at the time, Cassie Ventura. Then, a few days later, on December 23rd, there's also a record of an incoming wire transfer from somebody named Roderick Ventura, who is Cassie's father, in the amount of $20,000, and that is coming to his account. Then on December 27th, Diddy returns the $20,000 to Roderick Ventura's account. This $20,000 matches up with Regina Ventura's testimony from a few weeks ago when she said that Diddy contacted her about recoup money for Cassie. At this time, Cassie's mother was also afraid for her daughter's safety. It was to her understanding that Diddy was physically harming Cassie, as well as he might be releasing some sexually explicit tapes of her. During cross-examination by Diddy's defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo, Derek Ferguson would testify that he never saw Diddy do anything criminal in the 19 years that he worked for him. Also asked Derek, did you see anyone help Sean Combs commit acts of violence? Derek responded, no. The defense attorney then asked, did you see anyone make the company stronger through threats of violence? Derek then responded, no. This was the first worker affiliated with Diddy so far, or affiliated with Bad Boy, that has been on the witness stand for the prosecution that has stated they have not seen Diddy either use force or any kind of illegal activity to do anything as it pertains to Bad Boy Entertainment or to any of his workers. So this was interesting. We've never seen this before in any of the other witnesses that the prosecution has brought out so far in the past 4 weeks of any of the testimony. So that was day 15 of the Diddy trial. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what's going on in your brain in the comments. And next up, we should be hearing pretty soon from victim number 3, who is going by the pseudonym Jane. What's next? Cassie's former friend Brianna Bongolan testified that Diddy held her over a 17-story balcony. This all and more happened during day 16 of the Diddy trial. Brianna said that Diddy threw her onto balcony furniture and she sustained multiple injuries during this altercation. She also testified that she now suffers from paranoia as well as night terrors. During this incident, she said that it was a time when Diddy showed up banging on Cassie's door, and she said that this was something that he often did. This was her account of what happened. She said she was outside alone and he came up behind her, lifted me up, and then had me on top of the rail. She testified that Diddy grabbed her chest and held her by the armpits over the railing for 15 seconds while repeatedly yelling, "Do you know what the F you did?" But she says she doesn't know what he was talking about. She also testified she didn't report this to the police because, like a lot of witnesses have also stated, they were afraid of Diddy. There was another incident where she was at Cassie's house and she was awoken by P. Diddy, and she said this. He threw the knife in Cassie's direction and they didn't call the police because, again, quote, they were scared of Puff. She also would testify under an immunity order, which is now the third witness in this case that we see testifying under an immunity order. She said that her, Cassie, and Diddy would party a lot and they would use drugs like marijuana, cocaine, and ketamine. She also testified that they wanted to do better and they wanted to get sober. However, it was really hard. She said, quote, we had a problem. There was something else crazy that Diddy said to her in 2016 while she was at one of Cassie's photo shoots. She said that he threatened her. She said that he threatened her. During this threat, she said he came up really close to my face and said something around the lines of, I'm the devil and I could kill you. She also testified that she was terrified at this point in time. The prosecution also asked her, why did you continue to hang around Diddy after that? She replied, honestly, I don't know. There's also a lawsuit. Brianna filed a $10 million lawsuit against P. Diddy, and she stated that she filed the lawsuit because she wanted to seek justice for what happened to her. She's talking about the incident when she was dangling over Cassie's balcony, allegedly. She also testified in court that the last time that she hung out with Diddy and Cassie was New Year's Eve 2018. This night was really crazy, and after that, she vowed to get sober. After this, she said her hanging out with Cassie was very sporadic. However, she said after Cassie filed her civil lawsuit in 2023, she did speak to her. She told Cassie that the balcony details in her lawsuit were incorrect. Some of the details of the balcony incident in her suit were wrong, like the date and the location. Another person that took the stand was a forensic audio and video editor for the prosecution, and his name is Frank Piazza. Frank was basically telling us today a little more about the video from the Intercontinental in 2016 and whether we could believe the video or not, and whether it was altered or anything like that. So the jurors watched the video from the Intercontinental for the 8th time today. He also testified that timestamps seen in surveillance footage do not always accurately reflect the actual time of day. He also talked about some text messages between D-Rock, who was one of Diddy's security staff. Some of those messages included messages about Cassie as well as a woman that Diddy called G. I'm assuming that that is Gina. Diddy would tell D-Rock what to say to these ladies, and this is one message. Diddy told D-Rock, ask G if we're broken up. Day 17 of the Diddy trial, Brianna will be back on the stand today under cross-examination. So much more to come. Stay tuned. Diddy and Jane Doe go through 24 bottles of baby oil in one night of a freak off. Diddy also gets in trouble with the judge today in court. And Cassie's ex-friend is caught in a lie about Diddy hanging her over the balcony in 2016. Day 17 of the Diddy trial was really on one. Buckle in because we got a lot to unpack today. So yesterday and earlier today, we talked about Brianna Bongolian being on the stand, and she talked so much about her exchange when Diddy had her dangling over Cassie's balcony from 17 stories up. The reason Diddy got in trouble today, though, was because if you go back to our prior video, you will see that there were some discrepancies in her timeline or in her dates. And Diddy is seen looking at the jury when his defense attorneys are basically calling her out on her lie. He's looking at them, the Washington Post said, and shaking his head vigorously at whatever evidence they're bringing up to say, yeah, I wasn't even in LA when that happened. So if you want to know more about that story, go back to our last video so you can kind of catch up on what Brianna testified on the stand. Today we heard from victim number 3, also known as Jane Doe. Jane Doe is also Diddy's ex, and this is one of his most recent exes. And it's not Caresha. However, this ex does have overlap with Caresha, aka Young Miami. So this ex dated Diddy anywhere from 2020 all the way up until having dealings with him in 2024 last year. Jane said that she met Diddy on a trip in Miami in 2020. At this time, though, he was dating one of Jane's friends, and that is how they originally met. Jane said that they started to text in private and in secret, and she began to text him using the secret name Ernie, like from Sesame Street. She testified that she was also drawn to him pretty instantly, but again, she felt conflicted because her friend was dating him. So her last night in Miami, her and Diddy exchanged numbers. They're texting each other in secret. Diddy has a movie night at his house, and they hit it off. By 2021, the top of 2021, she is now in Miami, and she is beginning to date Diddy. So Jane flies to Miami in January of 2021, and she testified, I remember when I first saw Sean, he walks in the door of the hotel room, and it was just like larger than life. He was just immediately immersed in conversation with me. So she said they spent that night together and they watched the sunrise. She then also testified we made lots of love. After that, we went to a proper date night. We went to a restaurant. We got dressed up and we had a lot more of a mellow one-on-one sitting. On her flight home, she said, I was pretty head over heels for Sean already. Jane also testified that she had one kid with Diddy's former friend, and she stopped dating the father of her son back in 2015. This is one thing I will say. This former friend is currently still beefed out with Diddy to this day. It wasn't that hard to figure out. I don't know if the US government thinks that we don't know hip hop history or who Jane really is, but I figured it out in 10 minutes. The pseudonyms, y'all gonna have to protect these people's identity a little better than that. And that's all I'm gonna say. Y'all can figure it out. Back to the case. She said the relationship first was a lot of fun, but then it became overwhelming. It was too much, a lot of paid sexual partners and extra things she just didn't want to do. She said at one point in time, they went through 24 bottles of baby oil in one hotel night or freak off. Okay. So at this point, we've heard several names: Wild King nights, freak offs, and hotel nights. She also testified Diddy often made her sleep with multiple men over marathon sex sessions lasting 24 to 30 hours. This was a quote. Sometimes it would happen more than once with one person and maybe more than once with another person. I would push down what I really wanted to say. So she wouldn't even tell him how she felt sometimes. At first, she said the relationship was exciting. She said within months, about 90% of the time that she spent with him was involved with her having sexual intercourse with other men and him watching. So she detailed her first freak off. Her first freak off happened in 2021. She said Diddy gave her ex and they spent about 12 hours watching explicit videos and flirting all night. Then he asked her if she would be open to sleeping with other men. She thought that this was hypothetical. It was just hee hee ha ha. Hee hee ha ha. And it wasn't. He wasn't playing around. He brought it up again. And she said, quote, this is what he said to her. I can make this fantasy a reality if you would like to make it happen. So going along to get along, she says, okay, sure. She said Diddy then immediately called an escort and called in his team to set up the room. That night, she said that she had intercourse with an escort by the name of Don. While Diddy watched in the corner and the encounter ended with Don, Don finished on her body. Then she had intercourse with Diddy after that. Here was a quote. She said, he was really, really happy. We were together. We were happy. She testified that at first it felt exhilarating. She did not feel enthusiastic about it. She said, every single time I saw Sean, it was for a freak off. These hotel nights became constant. So another thing, because she was always doing freak off, she said she couldn't work, she couldn't travel. Her whole life revolved around Sean P. Diddy Combs and freak offs. So that means she wasn't making money. A lot of her money that she was making before, she said, was on social media. So she said she always had childcare ready. Diddy paid her bills, gave her cash, sometimes wiring her up to $20,000 at a time. And because he was paying for her life, she felt obligated to continue with the freak offs. So whenever she would try to tell him that she didn't want to do freak offs anymore, he would try to break it off. And this is what he would say. This is what she was quoted saying today. She said that he will respond to her saying, if you want to break up, that's fine. But this also meant that he was no longer paying her bills or her rent. So she had to continue the freak offs. I felt obligated to perform these nights with him, she said. Then she said, when I was with Sean, I was really consumed by him. Above all, she said that she did it because she was afraid of losing him. She wanted to stay with him. So Jane is set to be on the stand, they said, for the next few days, testifying about her relationship and her alleged abuse at the hands of Diddy. So we'll see what else that she has in store. So like I said, this witness, we already know who it is. I know who it is. I knew who the last witness was too as well. It took a little more digging, but this one I think is pretty obvious. It's not Young Miami, like I said, but if you are privy to hip hop history and you pay attention to anything in pop culture, it's not hard to figure out. Just know her baby daddy likes to talk a lot. So I'm sure by the end of this case, you'll know who it is too. I'm not going to divulge it. Y'all can if you want to. However, this is a lot to unpack here. So tell me what y'all are thinking, because I have thoughts. I have several thoughts. I might need an uncut version of this. Tell me what y'all thinking in the comments. All right, so we are back with day 18 and we are continuing Jane's testimony today. So we're going to talk a little bit about hotel nights. So we know by now that we have a lot of different names for Diddy's sex parties that he will also call freak offs. So during hotel nights, she would start her testimony by saying he wanted me to be wild and sexual. She also said that he wanted the escorts to not use any protection or condoms whenever they would have sex, but it was her request that they would use condoms. On multiple occasions, in fact, she asked them to use condoms and Diddy would be very disgruntled about it. She said eventually she stopped trying to get them to use it because he would always be pissed. This was a quote. He did not want to see a rubber while watching. So they played a freak off video while they were in court today, and the freak off video corroborated exactly what she was saying. In the video, you can hear her asking the escort to put on a condom. The escort obliges and says, yes, he will put one on, but then you can hear grumblings in the background. Diddy walks into the room, and then Diddy basically refuses the request. Then the escort does not end up putting on said condom. So we can already see from this that Diddy is running the show, as we already know, with the freak offs. So she also recalled crying a few times during freak offs, and during this time she said that she cried once and Diddy seemed pretty offended. So she said that he cried, and he ended up saying, "Are you crying?" and looked at her. He was really disgusted. And the second time, she said that they were both pretty high, but she was so high that she intermittently kept blacking out, and that she was clinging to his butler in desperation before Diddy eventually made it very clear that they were still going to participate in the hotel night. Later on in the shower, when they were together, she broke down and she said, this is what he responded to her. He just said, don't fucking do this right now. I'm high and I can't fucking see that. I'm just too high. Then eventually she said that the only time that they had sex was after she had sex with a male prostitute. So there was a 2023 text, and in the court on day 18, they actually read a lot of text messages and heard a lot of text messages between her and Diddy. Ever since I opened Pandora's box, I've never been able to close it. I'm so much more than being loved in the dark in hotel rooms doing things that make me feel disgusted. I don't want to play this role in your life anymore. It's dark, sleazy, and makes me feel disgusted with myself. I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights with you in fear of losing the roof over my head. His response to her was, girl, stop. That's insane. That's insane. But we'll actually unpack a little bit more about her saying she doesn't want to lose the roof over her head and things of that nature, because there's more to that story. It's not just as simple as her saying she doesn't want to have freak-offs anymore and they're so in love that he's like, okay, if you give up the freak-offs, then we can still be in love. There's a little more meat to it. However, they also grew to grow this deal. Instead of using random escorts, if we remember from weeks 1 and 2, Cassie would testify to the jury that they used to get escorts off of Backpage, on Craigslist. So Jane is saying instead of them picking up random prostitutes from wherever or, random people, they started using Instagram or, adult websites to actually get these adult film stars to participate in their freak-off films. So she says she found more comfortability with this, and she actually kind of like had a catalog in a sense. And so this way she was able to DM these people on Instagram and get new pictures of them. And Diddy was also looking at pictures of their genitalia and things like that. And he would compare and like, oh no, we don't want that one, or yes, we do want that one, so on and so forth. So these male entertainers were often flown out. So remember, one of his charges is also prostitution, and not only prostitution, but prostitution like across state lines, like traveling. So that's another part of it. So these people were flown out. One of them was flying from ATL to Miami. So, we have some names and some other people that are involved in this. So also a parallel back to Cassie. Remember when Cassie said that she had that birthday, and during that birthday, Diddy basically lured her to a freak off after the birthday. She couldn't fully enjoy her birthday. Well, the same type of ordeal ended up happening with Jane. She said Diddy surprised her with male prostitutes during her birthday in 2023, a birthday freak off, if you will. So this is what happened during said birthday freak off. A quote, I remember we were at dinner and I dressed up for him. We were at a sushi place and I was just really happy to be around my lover, and he was just so loving and sweet as always. Then he starts to tell me what the entertainment is tonight. So a lot of times Diddy would categorize entertainment as the male entertainment for the night or the male prostitution escort for the night. She said I had a gulp moment, like something was stuck in my throat, because I didn't expect that. Jane cried while testifying this in court, y'all. So she's saying that Diddy brought in one escort after another to end up having a freak off. There ended up being 3 men in this freak off by the end of the night. She said that he was even irate when she asked one of them to put on a condom. Here's another quote. It was just hours and hours of that. Sex foreplay, pleasing this guy, just doing so much, doing all of it, doing things my partner wanted to see. So she said going back and forth between the men. This happened over and over and over. And when she thought it was all said and done, another male escort walked in unannounced. She said she reacted like nothing was happening, but all inside she hated what was going on. So after that, Diddy actually lured her back to NYC. She told him that she wanted some personal one-on-one time with him. He said, okay, great. On her flight to New York, he then said, hey, do you want to have a hotel night tonight? So she knew on her way there already, he had told her, like, we're going to spend some one-on-one time together, blah, 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 blah. No. By the time she actually makes it to New York, that's not true. When she actually gets to the hotel, before she could even make it upstairs, she said that from the outside, she knew exactly what room they were going to be in because she could see the red lights set up, probably by his assistants or whomever, in the room outside of the hotel where they were staying. She saw the physical red lights from the outside, and they actually showed a picture that she took in court of the red lights from the outside of the hotel that he had already set up for them. She also testified about the cash transactions that happened. So she said oftentimes the money would be in a drawer or in the nightstand, and then she would always give the male escorts the money, and the money would be from Diddy. Sometimes she said they often gave them Cash App too because they might have run out of money. So she said she always stayed outfit ready as well. So she often wore stripper heels during this, and for the duration of these hotel nights, she was always glammed up. So speaking of glam, we know that Diddy liked to be in control, allegedly, of his ladies' appearances. So when it came to Cassie, we heard about the white nails and the waxes and all this other stuff. So with Jane in particular, she said that one thing he wanted to see on her was nipple piercings. So Diddy actually had a suggested piercing place in Piercer where he wanted to go, and Christina Karam set the whole thing up, who we know is his former chief of staff. So after about a year, she stopped wearing the nipple piercings because she said they got snagged on the lingerie and they became infected. So of course she's trying to treat the infection or whatever, and she said that Diddy just became very impatient and he was tired not seeing the piercings. And this is what he said: where are my piercings? This is the last time I want to see you without any piercings on. So he was pissy about that. She often mentioned drug use. So this is another thing that Cassie also mentioned. So we're seeing a lot of parallels again. Jane testified that she was concerned for Sean's health and she wanted to get him help. This was in 2023. So she said, you know, we should be sober for a little bit. So he said, okay, sure. But first, let's have a sobriety party. The sobriety party entailed this. They booked a hotel room and they had one last freak off. She said the freak off lasted anywhere between 12 to 18 hours. However, this time it was different because it was a sober freak off. So Jane was sober the entire duration of this freak off, which she said was basically unbearable. She said after sex with 2 male escorts, she threw up. She told Diddy that she threw up. So she said that Diddy came in, and this was a quote, Sean came in and I told him I had just thrown up. He was like, well, that's good. You'll feel better. Let's go because the third guy is here. So he said, wow, you got it all out? Great job, champ. Let's go ahead and get the third guy in there. She also testified that Diddy would regularly run out of drugs during freak-offs, and his security guards or assistants would go to get more. She then testified that Diddy also asked her 2 times to transport drugs. This one time was from California to Miami, and she said that she was nervous about it. She testified being nervous about it. However, there was one person who reassured her and said that she had done it before and that it would be fine. Who do we think this one person is? Ding, ding, ding. Nobody other than Christina Karam, Diddy's chief of staff. And this is somebody whose name, outside of D-Rock and those other security detail, that we hear so much of. So Christina, aka KK, that's what they call her a lot in this case, said that she did it often. Another parallel to Cassie that we heard about from Jane in this particular day was the mention of UTIs and yeast infections. So she said that she often contracted urinary tract infections. Why did she often contract urinary tract infections? I'm sure because of the amount of sex that she was having with the amount of people that she was having. So she testified this in court on day 18. She also said her back and her shoulders often hurt. She said, because I would be at the edge of the bed or at the edge of the seat in a position that he liked. Diddy would often make her have sex with escorts before the last UTI was actually even healed. So she said it felt like burning and constant urination in her pelvic area, and it always hurt during freak-offs. However, she didn't feel comfortable complaining to him because he always wanted her to stay positive. That was his thing. Stay positive, stay positive. She also said that Diddy would become upset, defensive, belittling, dismissive on multiple occasions whenever she would suggest pausing a freak-off. So she just didn't suggest it anymore. So there was also mention of other women. So if you are privy to this timeline, Jane said that she began dating Diddy in 2021. She met him in 2020. We know that from her testimony, her last freak off with him dates all the way as late as August of 2024, which is pretty much to the time that he got arrested, right? If you know Diddy, during that time, he had a baby in 2022 with Dana Tran. He also was known to be dating Young Miami at least from early 2021 to late 2023. So there's definitely some overlap here between at least three ladies: Jane, Dana Tran, as well as Young Miami, right? So I just thought it was interesting. I'm like, we know that Young Miami is not Jane, obviously. But in my heart of hearts, I think I know who Jane is, but as long as she wants to use her pseudonym, I'm personally not going to say who she is. Jane would also say that she's not jealous of other women, but she would talk to Diddy very often about his dealings with other women. So I'm going to play some voice messages from 2021 as well as 2023 during this next segment of the podcast that you're going to hear. And they're pretty interesting, in my opinion. Just to hear Diddy's voice, it kind of brings the case to life a little more because we're not physically seeing his face from day to day. We're seeing these sketches that don't really provide us with that much oomph. You know what I'm saying? To me, they're a bit comical, but they're not giving us that much. So, yes, just look out for that in this portion. So the jury would see a text exchange from Diddy and Jane. And in this text exchange, it would be from November 2021. They had just got off of a 2-day long freak off where Jane actually thought that they were going on a couple's weekend getaway. And Diddy would return home to get on Instagram and post pictures with a woman at his home gym. And so at the time, she sees it and she is hot. So this was her text message to Diddy at the time. She says, "This doesn't make me feel good at all. I see what I am turning into in your eyes. You've been saying you miss me and you want to see me, but you're lying. You just want the hotel shit." Diddy then responds and basically lets her have it. So I'm going to play the voice memo for y'all now. And this is what he says. Listener discretion is advised. He does say a few curse words. But he basically tells her, you know what it is. So here it goes.
That's my friend. I'm in Miami. I don't have a lot of friends out here, okay? She asked me if she could work out with me. I said, okay. You gotta believe what you want. This is the last time you're gonna be cursing at me, disrespecting me over nothing. Like I'm a human being. I'm not gonna lock myself up in a room and have no friends. I don't have a bunch of guy friends. I already told you that. And she just came over to work out. Like, but I'm not going to be explaining to you. It don't matter if I just got finished the other day. I'm saying I could do whatever I want to, but I didn't. You're straight flipping out on me. And I told you that you have one more time to do this. Flipping out on me because somebody came to work out with me at my house. You're nuts. So be sad, go crazy, do whatever you want to do. Okay, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve being honest with somebody. And then every time they see somebody around, they like, oh, I'm doing something. So I'm working out.
Okay, so that was the end of the message, and he said he was just working. There was another instance in 2023 where Jane said that Diddy took another woman to Turks and Caicos during Jane's birthday. And this was a quote. She said, "It really feels like you used me to get off, then you go off for the week." That is what she texted him. Then she said, "You've promised me a getaway for years and all we do is hotels." That is what she wrote him in a text message, and she was pertaining to their freak offs. Now, after I did my research of who I'm pretty sure Jane is and the woman that he was dating in 2023 around Jane's birthday, who would have celebrated a birthday, it would have been Young Miami. Young Miami's birthday is also in February. Jane, the woman who I believe is Jane, her birthday is also in the beginning of February, and their birthdays are about a week or so apart. So Diddy took Young Miami to Turks during Jane's birthday is what I'm gathering from this, and that really sent her over the edge. She also testified that he was spending quality time with another woman. She said, "I felt mistreated, that I was coming there to do a hotel night, and when I leave, he's giving another woman the quality time that I was begging for." In another message, she referenced hotel vibes and the names of two male entertainers that they had seen. She said, "I just need a breather from you. This is too much, basically. You're doing too much. This doesn't make me feel good at all. Your true intentions with me are in plain sight." In another message, "Don't say you effing miss me and you're bored over there. You just don't say shit to me at all. You don't deserve me." Even though she testified she didn't care if Diddy was with other women, she did say that what she wanted from him was romance and time. So when she wrote Diddy and she said basically, "Leave me alone, I don't want to deal with you no more," after that last message in 2023, this is what he responded in a voice memo and said to her.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all. At all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence. And ain't nobody threatening you, and I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you can be mad, I can have a spat, we can have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really, that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. So how do you go in the direction of like moving on like that, or you like just like have me just keep moving? Ain't no threat. I'm just being clear. I can't do it with you every time you get upset.
So they played that message in court on day 18, and this message, along with a lot of other messages, again, were read. So here was another message that they read out loud too. She said that she texted him, "It's not me that you miss, it's the freak offs, it's the hotel nights, it's those nights." She often said also after fights, he would eventually become very sweet and he would say all the things that she wanted to hear. However, it just wasn't good enough after a while. She became heartbroken and she felt like she was cheap to him. And there were several mentions, honestly, of her birthday. She even talked about her birthday in 2022 where she ended up having sex with another man who was somebody that they did a hotel night with previously, who she just kind of hooked up with because Diddy wasn't around, but he had like paid for her birthday with her and her friends. But she had set it up because she thought that he was going to be around. But that same weekend, she ended up finding out that he was serious with another woman who I'm assuming was Young Miami. And he probably did something with her that weekend. And finally, the straw that broke the camel's back for her was her birthday, in 2023. Another thing that she said she often did was she left notes in the notes app because she felt like she couldn't tell Diddy a lot of things to his face. So she would leave things in her notes like, it's the only avenue that she gets to have to get her feelings and her true thoughts out about him. And the jury would see excerpts from this stuff. So it will be about hotel nights and a lot more. So she said that Diddy would tell her they'd be spending time together outside of the hotel nights, but it would never happen. She also wrote, "You hurt my feelings every time you dismiss me. It's belittling." She also wrote things like, "Hotel nights were nice at first, but we spent the rest of our free time sleeping." Another note said, "Hey, I don't know why you're calling me for, but I'm sorry. I don't want to do drugs for days and days and have you use me to fulfill your freaky wild desires in hotel rooms." So she read these out loud. She also said that, he was using her for escapism and basically that he's crossed the line too many times. So there were a lot of notes that she would use to talk to herself, basically as a diary, and she used these as an outlet because she said that she couldn't talk to Diddy personally because he would be so irate and upset and mad when it came to actually vocalizing her feelings towards him. Another sad point of contingency was she said that sometimes Diddy would leave after freak-offs and she would be left to clean up the room after hotel nights. Crazy work. She also said that if they happened at her house, obviously, she would have to clean up after the hotel nights. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is a billionaire. He didn't even think enough of her to send over a cleaning crew or, a special cleaning person to come and clean up her home. She was cleaning up the house after they had freak-offs at her house. So she said, he was running off to do these things with other people. It was really hurtful to see that Sean was so capable of doing these really romantic love gestures. But when it came to me, it was just always met with excuses. So her final straw, like I said, it was really heartbreaking, a quote, for me because I felt that I saw this big grandiose birthday that he did for her versus the type of birthday that I just experienced with him. Which, like I said, was he went all out. He took Young Miami to Turks and Caicos for her birthday. However, for Jane's birthday, he surprised Jane with an unwanted freak off. So she also testified that she texted him, "I don't ever want to do another hotel night. I didn't want to do those things with you on my birthday, but I wanted to make sure we had a good time. I feel so cheap." She also texted him saying, "It broke my heart because I just finished spending my birthday with these guys having sex with me, and then for my partner to just leave and do such a romantic gesture for someone else." She even said she had an inkling that he was going to do something with another lady, but she just didn't say anything. So her one of her last messages to him was, "I'd like to get off the hamster wheel and do something different with you. I deserve to." In another message, she also wrote that all we do is hotels and it's sad. It's not fair to me. I didn't want to do all of this on my birthday. You knew how tired I was. So when he eventually responded, she said all of that, pouring out her heart to him. And he responded, "Let's be friends because I can't take this part for real. I'm done with you comparing yourself to someone else. I treat you good. And if you don't feel like that, then let's just be friends." He also said, "I'm tired of these long texts telling me what I'm doing wrong." He then responded and said, "Anything you've asked me for, I've done. We'll miss each other." However, for the first time in their relationship, she would finally ice him out, she said, for about 13 days. So during this time, he was texting her, "I miss you, let me make it up to you," things of that nature. But she said she didn't answer. She went all the way to Paris for Fashion Week, and she ended up having a good time away from him. But upon her return, she then... Well, honestly, while she was in Paris, he ends up finding out, and upon her return, she is back in contact with him. So by the time she gets back in contact with him, they end up entering into something called a love contract. Now, this is where it gets a little bit sticky and a little crazy. Honestly, before I get to the love contract, let me back up one more time. Because when Diddy tried to win her back over, he also said, "I'm so sorry. I'll finally take you on a birthday trip." But there was a stipulation. Once he finally convinced her of the birthday trip, he said, "Yep, and once you meet me in Miami before we go to Turks and Caicos," as if Turks was a special place, as if he didn't just take his other lady there, right? "Before we go to Turks, meet me in Miami for a hotel night." Sir, didn't I just tell you I was tired of having them damn hotel nights? I want to have one-on-one time with you. and he wanted to have a hotel night before they went to Turks. Okay, so Jane testified that after they returned from Turks in 2023, they entered into a love contract. And so with this love contract, it was a monthly allowance for her. So she negotiated a number. At first she asked him for $15,000. He then knocked her down all the way to $10,000. In my opinion, he lowballed the lady. This is a billionaire. $120,000 a year. Diddy's good for giving these people little to nothing. I'll give them that, you know, and they're just taking the pitties. Anyhow, she spent this $10,000 on her rent for a new home. So that is what they agreed on, and they said that this was going to be a 2-year contract because they had already been, you know, fooling around for 2 years. So that was a good enough amount of time for the contract. So the prosecutor asked her during this time, who is currently paying your rent now? She responded, Sean. So this was a confirmation, y'all, that Sean P. Diddy Combs, behind bars, is still paying Jane's rent right now as she testifies against him in federal court. That's not getting enough. That's not getting enough attention from me. I'm sorry. I thought that was bizarre. She is still getting her bills paid by Sean P. Diddy Combs to this moment. However, here we go again with the complaining. She said that at one point in time, all she was seeing was from about April to August of 2023. She was only seeing him during freak-offs, and she wanted to see more of him personally. So she said she texted him and basically said, you know, I haven't seen a lot of you lately. And his response was, well, get over it, please. Look at you. You have a roof over your head and that pretty smile. I don't want to do anything if there's still an issue. When he said that pretty smile, he's referring to her teeth. He also got her veneers. He told her that he did not like her teeth and he made her get veneers. Okay? So she also read some more messages out loud, and it was leading up to something that was called an all-star party. So this is a new term that we haven't heard yet. An all-star party is a party that takes place when the top 3 guys, like the top 3 performers from Freak Offs, basically come over all in one night and they all have sex with her in one night. So that is an all-star night. So she texted Diddy asking him for help purchasing furniture for her house outside of the $10,000 that he already gives her. However, in order for her to obtain this extra money to get the furniture, she had to participate in the all-star night. She did not want to participate in said all-star party or all-star night because she was already feeling anxious and tired from using drugs and all this other stuff. So he responded basically cursing her out in messages that she read to the jury. And then she eventually told him that she also didn't want to attend because she was about to get her period and she began spotting. She even went so far as to wipe herself to take a picture of her toilet paper and sent it to him. He texted her back and said, don't stress me ever again about money. Wrote her some more nasty messages, and he says, I don't have time, baby girl. You need to get on your job. And this wasn't the first time that he texted her telling her to get on her job. Prostitution is illegal. Sex work, prostitution, it's illegal. However, even though he keeps saying you need to get on your job, and to me, at least this portion of it, some of it, it does sound like they are into some kind of negotiation or contract about a sex job. The $10,000 a month, she's saying like, oh, if I don't have sex with you anymore, I'm going to lose the roof over my head. Same for me. If I don't go to work, I'm going to lose the roof over my head because I signed a contract. You signed a love contract. At the time, Diddy was also calling himself Love. So I'm wondering if love means like love as in Diddy contract, you know what I'm saying? Or if it's like love, we're in love. I don't think it's love, we're in love because I don't think he was in love with this lady. I think she was infatuated with him and what he could provide for her. and what he provided for her at the beginning. I think he love bombed the hell out of her and then, you know, pulled the rug from up under her. However, I do think that they were into some kind of, you give me this and you'll receive this type of relationship. And that is what it gives me. She also describes something else about movie nights. Now, movie nights is something else different that we haven't heard about before either. A movie night is this. A movie night is where they would go and they would watch their tapes back from the freak-offs that they've already had. So here's some updates. I know I've said a lot. Day 18 was fully packed with a lot of shit, if I'm being honest. So we know that P. Diddy is facing racketeering charges, and this racketeering conspiracy that he is facing the charges that follow. Sex trafficking, we know that's one of them. Then we know it's forced labor, that is another one of them. Bribery, obstruction of justice, distribution of narcotics, kidnapping, arson. And all of those are under the RICO Act. So they have to prove at least 2 of those have happened in the span of the last 10 years under the RICO Act. So that's something within itself, okay? Separately, he is also facing 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. These 2 counts are, as it pertains to Cassie Ventura as well as Jane, both his ex-girlfriends. So we know that the sex trafficking for Cassie is by coercion, because we know that a lot of the stuff that she is alleging is through coercion. This in particular with Jane is sex trafficking, they're saying, by fraud. Now, this is a new term for me. I had to look it up because I'm like, what is sex trafficking by fraud? I'm not too sure, have never heard of it. So when you look up sex trafficking by fraud, it gives it the definition. It's where traffickers use various forms of deception, manipulation, and false promises to lure or control their victims. So that is what he's facing in terms of sex trafficking by fraud right now when it pertains to that. Okay? So then finally, each count of that carries a possible sentence of 10 years to life in prison. He's also facing 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, also known as the Mann Act. So some of these ladies that he was also taking over state lines, but he was also flying out male escorts as well. And so we saw that with Cassie, and then now Jane is also testifying to that as well. So the latest is that Diddy's defense is also now asking for a mistrial. So why are they asking for a mistrial? Because of Brianna Bongolan, something that happened this week. So they're asking for a mistrial because they are saying that Brianna Bongolan got on the stand and that she was lying. So they asked for this past weekend on Saturday, and they said that some of the facts that the prosecutors have presented are false evidence. So they said it's related to allegations being brought against Combs by Brianna Bongolan, longtime friend of Cassie Ventura. So what is this incident they're talking about? The 17th floor apartment balcony in Los Angeles incident. So they're claiming that Bongolan perjured herself. And remember, she went in under an immunity agreement. So she said that she wanted to, invoke her Fifth Amendment right. And however, when the prosecution gave her a deal, they said this deal is void if you perjure yourself. So if Brianna is found in fact lying about anything that she said while on that stand, she could also serve jail time. So she testified that she was able to document her injuries from the attack on September 26th, allegedly. However, the defense attorneys are saying that Diddy was not in LA on the 26th of September. They have receipts of him being in New York at a hotel from September 24th until September 29th of 2016. So there's no way that he could have been in LA to dangle her over that balcony on September 26th, 2016, as she stated on that stand. They're also saying the government should have known this or should have had testimony about this, meaning that Miss Bongolan has perjured herself and that she is lying on the stand, and Diddy could not have possibly been in Los Angeles on that balcony to do that during that time. So we'll see what comes of this. They showed the hotel records in court this past week, and you know, the prosecution is saying, well, hey, that's when the pictures were taken, right? Bruising doesn't necessarily have to happen same day. This bruise could have taken place, you know, it could have showed up 3 or 4 days later maybe, and that's when she took the photo. We don't know. She said, you know, she was full of drugs and that it could have happened any of those days in between. But, you know, we'll stick around to see. So there's a lot more to unpack in this case in week 5. We're going to hear some more from Jane. We're going to hear a lot more from some other witnesses as the defense gets ready for their portion of the case as well. So stay tuned. This is Courtroom Clarity with the point of no return. I know that this little tidbit for day 18 was long. It was long for me. Y'all see I had to get my headphones on for this one. So we will be back every single day per usual. If you want the real-time updates every single day, tap in with us over on our TikTok, the Point of No Return Pod, and you'll see me there every single day. And until next time, tell me what y'all are talking about and what y'all are thinking. Hit us up on social media, for real, because I be in the comments talking to people every single day. Every day. This has been a whirlwind. So I would love to hear back from y'all, because I am just stuck like Chuck. I'm up and stuck. I feel like every time I'm on here talking about something else comes up. Like, I'm sure after I record this today, something else is going to creep in my brain, and I'm going to be like, man, I should have told them that on the pod. However, holla back at me. There's just too much to unpack every single day. So until tomorrow.
Audio Jungle.